Welcome to this Killick Explains video, and welcome to the Trump tariff topic revisited. So this time, why will Donald Trump not give up tariffs without a fight? Or put it another way, why are tariffs likely to be part of his agenda for the entire second term of his presidency, Supreme Court's notwithstanding? Okay, so bit of a recap first. Trump came into power. He was inaugurated in January. Seems like a long time ago now. We then had Liberation Day in April, when he basically declared globally that everybody would be paying different levels of tariffs. Basically, if they wanted to sell into the US, they would have to whack on tariffs of different amounts, depending on which country he was talking about. And the US courts then duly, or one of them, challenged that whole arrangement. China obviously challenged it too. Individual countries came to the table, and we now wait to see what happens next. Trump is pretty sure tariffs are here to stay. We've got the first proper legal challenges come in. More will follow, so it's a case of watch that space. But I don't think, unless he's absolutely forced to, he will give them up without a fight, if he gives them up at all. And if he does give them up, he's going to need something else up his sleeve to compensate for reasons I'll come back to. Now, this is not just my view. John Emerson of Capital Group, former US ambassador to Germany, thinks there are 4 reasons why Trump uses tariffs. 2 of them are sort of transitory. 2 of them will kind of come and go, and investors can slightly ignore in one sense. 2 of them, however, are much less easy to dismiss. So, the 2 that are less of a problem, 2 reasons why Donald Trump loves tariffs. Number 1, he likes results. He's written a book called The Art of the Deal. He sees himself as a business guru who gets stuff done and gets it done quickly. So one way he's used tariffs in the past is just to basically bully or strong-arm people into giving him what he wants. So there was an episode involving some Colombian migrants. He wanted them flown out of the US back to Colombia. The president of Colombia said, that's not happening on my watch. Trump said a 25% tariff across the board says it is. All right, a deal was done, and as far as Trump's concerned, the art of the deal meant that he got his way. But that kind of almost threat just to get a result, not even an economic result sometimes, is noise for investors. It's not good, all right? It's not the way to go about things, but as an investor, and that's really the kind of people watching this video, that is not a big problematic use of tariffs because they sort of come and go. Number 2 isn't too bad either. So the second reason he likes tariffs is what's called levelling up or reciprocity. Easy for me to say. And that's where he started with his 10% minimum. Go back to Liberation Day, the minimum level of tariff was 10%, and then for some countries it was a lot higher, especially China. And what's happening there is Trump is just saying, come on, in the UK you've got your value-added tax. I mean, not the same thing at all, but basically across the world there are things added on to sales taxes. This is just a levelling up exercise in the short term. So let's put a 10% minimum on, in specific sectors like autos in particular, all right? But these are, generally speaking, finite and visible. So he'll say things like, I'm putting on this tariff, 90 days says, we'll take it off again, come to the table, talk to me, or everyone wants to do a deal in Donald Trump's view, and it's job done. So for investors, we've got something which is relatively short term, relatively predictable, and likely to be negotiated away to some extent. Keep that 10% minimum baseline in mind though, as we move to points 3 and 4. Because point 3, third reason he likes tariffs, moves into the and he's not about to give them up category. So he's talked about something which Elon Musk has been very critical of recently, the big, beautiful tax bill. So Trump has had this piece of legislation which has got to go through several iterations and stages. All right, and basically what he's weighing up is how he basically gets what he wants to do done. So spends what he wants on defense, for example, doesn't trigger a deficit crisis, doesn't wake up the bond vigilantes, if you like, by massively borrowing, doesn't overtax his support base. So he doesn't want to tax certain things. For example, he doesn't want to put tax on tips for the simple reason that that will hit some of the people who he thinks directly support him. So what he's done is he's kind of gone round the houses. He's thought, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I want this big bill to go through. I don't want the bond markets to wake up and penalise me. It seems to be the bond market is the only people he's actually afraid of. I've got to keep my supporters happy, so I can't tax them, all right, until the pips squeak for fear of losing my fan base. So I'll try and cut costs. So Elon Musk was sent in the Department of Government Efficiency to find cost savings. But unfortunately, that didn't work out as well as everybody thought, which is partly why Musk gave up that position. So Trump's thinking, well, how do I do this? I can't borrow loads. I can't tax my own supporters. I can't seem to save as much money as I thought I could. Tariffs, haha. What I'll do is I'll charge overseas companies, if you like, and fill the gap that way, all right? Because tariffs will just bring in a whole load more revenue to the US. So whether or not you agree with that theory, because there's plenty of evidence it doesn't work, but nonetheless, what he's thinking is, I need a certain base of tariffs, which is where the 10% number, I come back to that again, over the whole of my term, simply to make the maths work on my big, beautiful bill. And I suspect Elon Musk doesn't think that's going to work, hence the criticism. All right? But that is a reason why Trump has got to stick with something. And if it's not tariff policy, it's going to be something else, because he's simply got to make up the revenue shortfall that kind of makes the maths of that bill work. And then number 4, the fourth and probably most powerful reason he doesn't want to give up tariffs is they are part of his DNA now. You know, he wants to make America great again. Even as a Democrat 2 decades ago, he talked about tariffs. Probably in his first term, he didn't feel confident enough to implement what he's done by Liberation Day, but now he does. He feels, to summarize the argument, because I've touched on it elsewhere, that the US has been a charity, conceptually, for firms and consumers overseas for decades. You know, China, other countries have just taken advantage of US largesse. And what he wants to see happening is he wants basically to reshore manufacturing, bring it back home, if you like. He wants to see Americans consuming fewer overseas goods and services. He wants Americans employed by US firms. You know, in an ideal world, he wants to see iPhones made in America, not made in China, or as Tim Cook suggested as an alternative, even made in India. All right, so he's got this vision and he's not about to let go of it. He sort of stands and falls by it in part. So where are we with all of this stuff? Well, the fight has begun. The first legal challenge, and there'll be more to come, has come in. All right, the question, unfortunately, is this. Even if Trump has to give up tariffs, and people have quite mixed views on what tariffs actually can achieve in practice, he'll need to fill that gap, potentially, in government funding, state funding, national funding, somehow. So if it's not tariffs, it's likely to be something else buried in the small print related to tax policy of that big, beautiful bill. So watch the space. Trump thinks tariffs are here to stay. Others may disagree. But in the meantime, investors need to be alert to the fact that there could be some form of tariff policy in place until Trump loses his second term position. And on that note, I'll finish. Basically, if you want more information, there are videos at killick.com/resources. My equities guide has some background information in it too. And of course, don't forget about the latest copy of Confidant.